Okay, shalom everybody. Just a quick little video here, maybe, possibly. I just want to review a little bit on the Y chromosome, the paternal and maternal lineage. Seems like they would like to make it a lot more complicated than it is. And I don't think it's as complicated as what they want to try to make it, okay? For example, I was just talking to CRISPR. I was having a conversation with CRISPR. And the point that he was making was that it's not statistically significant, the difference between these different groups here of M81, V12, and V32. Okay, now let's check out what he's saying. The paternal line identifies the line of your paternal ancestry. And he's saying it's not statistically significant, but you're either identified as being a V12, an M81, or a V32 if that's what you are, if that's what you have. And I'm saying no, it's very significantly a different line of ancestry. It's a different branch of the same tree, obviously, because they're all E3Bs. Every one of them is E3Bs, and yet the Ethiopians are not Egyptians, and the Berbers are not Egyptians either. And if you try to say that the Berbers are Egyptians, they would have a fit. And according to DNA, according to the scientific evidence, is that they are a different line of ancestry, very significantly different, because they have the number of mutations that line up with the people in their ancestry line. They don't line up with the other people in the other line. That's why they're designated an M81 instead of a V12. And it's amazing, how CRISPR, he kind of rage quit because it was late and because, whatever. Because he was talking for a while. He said he's talking for an hour. He can't talk anymore. But anyways, I said I have to show him the map. But even then, I don't think that he's gonna, you know, give in, because he can't give in. Because if he does, that means I'm right. Is that the paternal line of the Berbers is not the paternal line of the Egyptians? It's different people all the way down. They're all different fathers all the way down. Same thing with a Cushite. And he's saying stuff like, "Oh, if I have one mutation different from my brother, then I'm different from my brother." I said, no. I mean, is I mean, it's almost hilarious, but it's sad to the extent that they will go to deny even the science. So he's denying science, saying that the M81 is not the same branch as the V12. He's saying it's statistically insignificant. Statistically insignificant. And I'm saying, well, if it's insignificant, why are they assigning people to different branches of the same tree. I mean, it's, I don't even need to say anything more, really. But these people will go on and on and on and on, and then he said he had to quit. Of course, he had to quit. Anyways, I can go through and tell you from memory where the names of the grandsons of Noah of every single one of these Y chromosomes, with the exception of probably, where is it? Right here. The M and the S. It's either Meshach or Tubal, or Tubal and Meshach, and I don't know which is which, and I have no way of knowing because they separated a long, long time ago, and somehow they're together here, but their lineage, their paternal lineage is from way, way, way back, separated all the way back at the beginning. This is another thing I was trying to explain to CRISPR, saying, well, how can they tell with accuracy when the lines separated? Because there's some information somewhere that's showing when the people separated. Let me just go ahead and give you an example, provide an example here. If I find it here. Okay, so yeah, so this is the Y chromosome lineage family tree. If I can ever get, if my computer laptop will work. Okay, there we go. Now this is what I'm talking about. This is genetic distance and by way of the number of mutations. So there was enough mutations here to make the line this long. There's enough mutations here to make this line this long. There's some information here that determines when the B separated from the A. Each one of these, they have some information somewhere to determine when these branches separated from the main branch. The Q from the R, the N from the O, the I from the J. Here we have an F here and an F2. Got two Fs. What's up with that? And they separated at the beginning. In other words, they shouldn't even be two different letter designations. They should be different letters because they don't even belong. I mean, they all meet at the middle, obviously. Because like another thing I was trying to explain to CRISPR is that at the beginning they all had the same Y chromosome, so it should be tight like this. They should all connect at one point. He's talking about rooting the tree, and he's giving me a hard time about the definition of rooting the tree and everything. I'm saying it has to all connect in the middle. The only reason why this one doesn't connect in the middle is because they got information missing here. The E3s aren't even represented here. See? And the E3s are the original populations. How do I know? How do I know the E3s are original populations? I know. Because the C came from the E3, the D came from the E3. How do I know? Because I know who the C is and I know who the E3 is that this C is the son of. So if they would put all the information in, it would even be closer to the center of when they started branching off. But anyways, this is probably wrong anyway because the C is probably not that much different than the E3. They got to branch off from the same place. Anyway, not saying that it's perfect, but I'm saying they have a pretty good idea of when they separated. The Q from the R, the N from the O, you know, all these different people. Well, let me just go ahead and go through. This is the genetic distance. And somehow they know, where these things, where the R2 connects up, where the R1B connects, and where the R1A connects, where they connect up to each other from the genetic distance, from the, it's all computerized anyway, so calculations and math and everything. But anyways, let me just go ahead and go back over here. Let's see if I can identify every one of these Y chromosomes and assign at least the grandsons of Noah. I can't designate every single Y chromosome there is because I don't know the great great grandsons. I don't know the names of the great great grandsons, but I do know the name of the grandsons. And I know the names of the grandsons, the three sons, the three sons and their sons. So we can see right here what the three sons are right here. The A, B, C, D, well, the F belongs over here. But the A, B, C, and D is one son of Noah. The F, G, H, I, and J is another son of Noah. The K, L, M, N, O, P, Q, R is another son of Noah. Just the way it turns out. It's not, has nothing to do with these. They're trying to make it vague. They're trying to say that this group came from this group and this group came from this group, but that doesn't make, that's not adding up. Not adding up. Because according to historical records, everyone began in this area here, which is, of course, the cradle of civilization, which is Mesopotamia, which is Ur of the Chaldees, which is Babylon, which is the land of Shinar. And we have the names of all the people at the time. We have the names of the three sons of Noah that stepped off the ark. We have the names of their sons. Now, this is stuff that you heard in Sunday school, and you think like, oh, why do they tell me all these names for? Why do I care about all these names, Well, they happen to be pretty significant, pretty important. So let's see what the names of the grandsons are. We know what the names of the sons are. There was Ham, Shem, and Japheth. And of course, we could show other maps, but I'm pretty sure people have seen it before. They understand it's Ham, Shem, and Japheth. Okay. Bible says Japheth went north. Japheth went up in this area here, north. Shem stayed around in this area here. Ham went to Africa with the exception of Nimrod, who was the king in the land of Shinar. And he had no reason to go anywhere when there was a separation in the families. They started speaking different languages, didn't understand each other, and they started spreading out. But Nimrod was king of the land of Shinar. He had multiple cities, kingdoms under his power and his strength, Of course, the skeptics think this is all mythical, but it happens to be all factual. And I'm going to demonstrate how it lines up with the Y chromosome. All these nations, they all line up with the chromosomes that we have, which I already showed. The Hamites are A, B, C, D, and E regardless. So if it's a C over here, it's a descendant of Ham. It's a grandson of Ham. If there's a D over here, there's a D over here, this D, that's a descendant of Ham. There's a D in Tibet, it's a descendant of Ham. If there's a D in China, Siberia, and Japan, those D's are descendants of Ham. Cush in particular, because these Andamanese are, you know, typical dark-skinned people with sub-Saharan African features, typical of being a descendant of Cush. I don't know what the name of this great-grandson is here, this DY chromosome. I don't know what his name is, but I do know what the name of his brother, the CY chromosome, is, because the CY chromosome spread east from this location right here, and the only possible person it could be would be Nimrod, because of the fact that he was king over the entire of the world. He had multiple cities, kingdoms around here. And then when he was killed by allegedly Esau, that there was still a house of Nimrod, or household. We would say household of Nimrod. But the ancient scriptures say house of Nimrod, like house of David. So Nimrod had many sons. He was the king over the whole world. He was the first king over the whole world, and he was king when Abraham broke his father's idols. He got in trouble with Nimrod because he was the king, and Abraham's father was the idol maker for Nimrod, the king. Anyways, so when Nimrod died, there was a household of Nimrod, which the record says was subdued for a time. But then, of course, after they just spread out and went east. So much so that they went all over the east, all the way to the end of China, south, all the way to the Pacific, all the way to Australia. There's even a C5 somewhere right here, C5. So there's a C1, C2, C3, C4, C5, all descendants of Nimrod. So much so, they went all the way to Central and South America. Right here, they have the Olmec statues. The Olmec statues have, they're very well-made figures, so much so you can identify the different people, the different rulers, just because of how accurate the feature the sculptors were in sculpturing the face of the person. So much so that some of the people had scars and lopsided faces, and it was depicted in the sculpture. Any defects, any scars, any things were depicted in the sculpture of the ruler. But it's very, very fine artwork. Very huge, heavy sculptures, rock that was quarried from a long ways away, long distance away, and brought over to settlements. And it turns out that these Olmec sculptures, faces, have Asian and African features. You just look at the faces and you can see, well, that looks African and Asian. The reason being is because the people that were here came from Asia and were descended from Nimrod, who was the son of Cush, the sub-Saharan African, Cushite. Nimrod is the son of Cush, the son of Ham. And the Bible singles out Cush, the Cushite, as being the dark-skinned people, the Cushite. Not the Egyptian, not the Phoenicians, not the Canaanites, but the Cushite. The Bible singles out very early on the Cushite as being the dark-skinned people. And of course, the features are unique. The features of the dark-skinned people are unique, so much so that it shows up in the Andamanese Tibetans. Half of the population of the Tibetans have the DY chromosome. 1/3 of the Japanese population have the DY chromosome. These are the people with the beards and the curly hair or the wavy hair, the dark wavy hair, and the beards, which is not typical of the Asian QY chromosome. So here we have the Q, which is Asian. Of course, this C3 is traveling through Asia and mixing autosomally with the Japhethites, with the Q and the N and the O. The C3 is mixing with all these people, which is Asian. So these people traveling through, by the time they get through here, they are a mixture, and of course they're the Nadene as well. So by the time they get down here into Central America and they make the Olmec statues, they have the features that are African, both African and Asian, which we recognize easily. It's not like a mystery, and it's funny how people that make documentaries or historical things on the Olmec cultures, they try to discount these quote unquote conspiracy theories of the Olmec statues being African or Asian, and they're both. I mean, it's clear as day. The Y chromosome is Asian, and the Y chromosome is African. I mean, the two populations are mixing here autosomally, and you should expect to see African features and Asian features. And to this day, we have the Quichuas and the Waoranis people and the Wayuu people with a C3Y chromosome. And of course, the reason why I'm aware of these people is because I was raised right here, 3 degrees below the equator right here on the Amazon River. And 5 years before this time, they had killed 5 missionaries. This C3Y chromosome, the Waorani tribe, killed 5 missionaries. And I was here 3 degrees below the equator, and they were reading the story to me about the 5 missionaries that were killed, and later their wives went into the tribe with the gospel with their kids. And it turns out that one of these Waorani warriors that killed the 5 missionaries ended up being an adoptive father to the son. I mean, adoptive father to the son of the person, the man that he killed, that he thrust through with a spear, and he raised the kid with bleach blonde, white hair, because he's saying this guy doesn't know anything. He can't even defend himself or anything. And the one of the women said to him, "Well, since you killed his father, who do you think should teach him all this stuff?" And then he thought a little bit, and then he came back and said, "Yeah, well, since I thrust the spear through his father, maybe I should teach him." So that's what happened. So, this history, this human history, is has a lot of significance and meaning. So let me see if I can start to name all these Y chromosomes, these grandsons of Noah. So we can start out. Who was the oldest one? I guess, well, we'll just start out with Ham since he's over here. So Ham had 4 sons. One of the names of those sons was Put. One of the names was Mitzrayim. The other name was Cush. And nobody can deny that this area is the area of the Cushite people. To this day, no one denies it. Everybody knows it. They even have their paternal lineage, paternal line, single line from the Cushite people going all the way back, being its own line, its own family tree, all the way back to Ham. Okay, the Mitzrayim line, they got a single line going all the way back to Mitzrayim. The Put Phoenicians, they got a single line going all the way back to Put. Now, in case somebody wants to get all worked up about it, the Phoenicians are actually two people. They're two people. The Phoenicians were over here in this area in the days of King Solomon. They were called Phoenicians, but they weren't the original Phoenicians. The original Phoenicians are in North Africa in the area of Put, and I could show other maps of that too. Today, probably the Berber people, who are their own line. Of course, they're all E3s, E3Bs, E3B, and E3B because they all had the same Y chromosome from their father Ham. The other one is Canaan here, which is probably an E32 or E31B, or any number of the both of them, because there is a lot of E3B1s too. Some of the pharaohs were E3B1. I mean E1B1. So the Canaanites could have been E1B1s, and or some of the Egyptians were E1B1. But at any rate, we know that these populations do belong. And of course, we need to look at the data correctly, make sure we have the correct data. And this seems to be the most recent data as far as they can figure out and put together. But Canaanites might have been the E1B1s or the E2s. or both, because of course they mixed with the Jewish people for one thing. They mixed with the so-called quote unquote Phoenicians, which were not the original Phoenicians, but they were called Phoenicians, which was a whole group of sea people here in the days of the King Solomon, which consisted of a whole number of people. Um, some of which I've mentioned in other videos. So the four sons of Ham were Canaan, Put, Mitzrayim, and Cush. So we have a Y chromosome for Cush. We have a Y chromosome for Mitzrayim. We have a Y chromosome number designation for Put, which is M81, which is the North African Berbers, which is where Put, the original Phoenician, went to. It was North Africa. Of course, in the beginning, it wasn't so far. They tended to spread out from where they originally settled. And the only other one was Canaan, and we know the history between Canaan and Israel, that they were always fighting each other, and some of the Canaanites assimilated into the Jewish population. So there we have it. We have at least 3 of the sons of Ham positively identified as to their paternal Y chromosome lineage, all the way back from the people of today to the original sons of Ham, which are Cush, Mitzrayim, Put, and Canaan, which is not as clear yet to me, but it's an E1b or an E2. Okay, so the sons of Shem were, let's see, there was Aram of the Arameans. There was Asher of the Assyrians. There was Lud of the Ludites, the Ludites or Lydians or whatever they were. And there was Elam of the Elamites. And there was Arpachshad, or Arphaxad, or however you want to pronounce it, whose descendant was Eber. And there's a place called Iberia, named after the son of Eber. Iberia. Iberia right here was named after Iberia, but that's another rabbit hole. But anyway, just one of those things. So we have, 5 sons of Shem? That's Lud, Asher, Aram, Elam, that's 4, and Arpachshad, that's 5. So we need to find a Y chromosome to match. Let me just go ahead and say what they are. Lud appears to be one of those F2s, one of those F lines, because there's 2 F lines that are totally unconnected. I'm saying Lud is one of them. The other one of the F line, let me see, yeah, would be Aram, of the Arameans, who became the Syrians and became the Syrian. So there's Asher, Lud, Aram, and the other one is Elam, of the Elamites. So, and today we have what's called written right here in front of us, Elamo-Dravidians, Elamites. So that's Dravidian is the HY chromosome. So the Elamites have the HY chromosome. So who has the GY chromosome? This G of Asher Asher had the GY chromosome. That was the first runaway um, kingdom, I think, was the Assyrians, pretty much. Okay, the second one, I think, was the Syrians from Aram, became the Arameans, or became the Syrians, and they were F. So the Syrians are F, the Assyrians are G, the Elamites are H, and Lud would be the other F. So one of the Fs is the Syrians, the other F would be designated as Lud, and then there's Arpachshad. Arpachshad is the J2Y chromosome. Well, Arpachshad is the J2, the J1, J1, J2, I2, and I1, because it's all the same family tree. Okay, but the J1 is the Arabic population. See, it says Middle Eastern Semitic, but J1, of course, is the Arabic population, the Arabic people. J2 is more the Judaic people, the Judaic population, which is a huge population between from Italy all the way through Greece, through Turkey, through Iran. Today, I'm talking about today's population. Today's Iran, today's Turkey, today's Greece, today's Italy is significantly the J2Y chromosome in their population today. So what happened was, I don't want to get into history yet, but is the I2 is of the same branch of the J2 and the J1, as well as the I1, of course, the I1. So now that we have the Hamites, the Shemites, now we need to find who the Japhethites are. Now the Japhethites I thought was going to be very difficult. So let me see what we got left. What we have left. We have the K, L, M, N, O, P, Q, R, S, and T. It's a lot of letters. It happens to be seven groups because some of the letters are together, the same as some of these letters are together. Some of these letters are together too. So what I had to do was the first one I had to identify, was able to identify, was the R1Y chromosome. The way I was able to identify that without too much trouble was by way of the Ashkenazi Jews. So what I did was I looked at the Ashkenazi Jewish population and I looked for the Japhethite Y chromosome in the Jewish population of the Ashkenazis, which is about 0.25% R1. So because Ashkenaz is the son of Gomer, Gomer is one of the sons of Japheth. So Gomer is the grandson of Noah. So since Gomer is the grandson of Noah, he had a son named Ashkenaz, which carried over into the Ashkenazi Jewish population. Then I said, well, okay, well, I'll just designate this as R being the sons of Gomer, the sons of Ashkenaz, sons of Gomer, the sons of Japheth. So then I had that, tentatively. I said, okay, so if this is Gomer, then Meshach, I mean, not Meshach, Magog is like a major population. It's one of the biggest population. They went north. They went way up here. I'll just go ahead and designate Magog, the major population, as this tree here, the N and the O. The O is the biggest population in the world, by the way, even without the N. But the N belongs to the O population too. So now we have two sons of Japheth. It's Gomer and Magog. Now we have another one. Another son of Japheth is called Madai. Madai became the Medes. The Medes have the uh, what is it? The KY chromosome. Yeah, the Medes have the KY chromosome. So it's the KY chromosome is the first one. So it's the K, and since the let me see the K, then it's L, L. Well, I gotta look at the family tree because it's kind of strange. It's counterintuitive if you're looking at if you're going just by the labels. It's kind of counterintuitive, but the L and the T belong to the same family tree. The same as the N and the O belong to the same family tree, and the R and the Q belong to the same family tree. The L and the T, well, at least actually they don't belong to the same family tree. They're actually different. So at least I thought they were at first, but then I realized that actually since they separate all the way back from the beginning, even though it has them kind of together, they separate all the way back at the beginning. So I separated them as being two different sons. So let's see if I can remember. So since the T was part of this Phoenician group that ended up in America, which is another story, which I've already explained before. But the T population was a significant population here that ended up in America because of these Phoenician people that went to America and were mining gold, copper, and silver in America. Then I named Javan the T. So Javan, since he was part of this Sea People population and is all commonly found in the Jewish populations as well, because of the mixing between the Jewish population and the Phoenicians, and because they were just a whole bunch of people that mixed together in the Mediterranean Sea as they were going different places and doing different things. They they the TY chromosome is found in America because of that. So that's I named Javan. So Javan is the T. Then there's T Raz. In this area, there's Javan and T Raz settled in this area. Actually, T Raz is in this area later because they migrate around. But T Raz is the Thracians. So we have the Javan and the Thracians in Greece, or which later became Greece. So the T Y chromosome is the Javans, and the LY chromosome is the Thracians, because when Alexander the Great took over the world this way, he brought the Thracians over here and the Javans over here. And of course they're all throughout the Mediterranean too, but in lesser amounts, of course, not huge amounts. But when Alexander the Great took over the world, that's when the Thracians and the Javans came all the way to India. And their TY chromosome is here today. But of course, it's in America too. The TY chromosome's in America because the Javans were sea people here mixed with the Phoenicians and went to America in the days of King Solomon. So, and a lot of stuff is going to have to be backed up, verified, everything. But then Madai is the Medes, Javan is T, oh yeah, and the Medes is K, and the L is the Thracians, the Tiraz. So the Tiraz is L, Javan is T, Medes are K, Gomer is R, Magog is the large population. The most significant population of the Japhethites is Magog. So, and he went north. So I designate him as being the N and the O, which is the same family. So the only ones left are Meshech and Tubal, which are significant. They should be significant to this day. But the only thing I can match them up with is that Meshech and Tubal migrate around this way with a K, which is the Medes. The Medes is K. So Meshech and Tubal, being the same descendants of Japheth, would have migrated with the K, which is the Medes, but only going different directions. So the K, the Medes that went this way, had the Meshech and Tubal accompany the K Medes all the way down here. We have the K here and the M and the S here. Now, I don't know which is which, and it really doesn't matter. But to me, since these are separate branches, they separate from all the way back at the beginning. Each of these, they're all separate lines. The M is separate from the K, S is separate from the K, the M is separate from the S. They're all separate lines. So the K is the descendants of the Medes. The M is either the Meshech and Tubal or Tubal and Meshech. So that's all the grandsons of Noah. Every last one of them. So just a matter of review. Let me just go ahead and go to the, no, let me go to here, this one here. We have again, we'll start with the Hamites, which are not all here. The E3s aren't here. Remember, the E3s are the Phoenicians, the Egyptians, and the Cushites, none of which are registered here. If they were, they would be down here. Because Nimrod is the son of Cush, and this D Andamanese Y chromosome is a descendant of Cush because he's has the features, all the features of the sub-Saharan Africans, the same as the A and the B. And the E1 and the E2, the E1, B1 are people like Albert Einstein, Nelson Mandela, Desmond Tutu, and even Adolf Hitler, E1, B1. Because they're probably the Canaanite people, and other North Africans. So some of them went one way, some of them became part of the Jewish population, which was Albert Einstein, and also, unfortunately, Adolf Hitler as well. But I have another what we call in Portuguese a desaforo, a sad case, you might say, as well. in that Martin Luther, the one that recommended that Adolf Hitler persecute the Jews, Martin Luther of the Protestant Reformation, he is an I1 or an I2. I forget. I think it's an I1, just like me. So everybody has their own, bad people in their family, you might say. So, and Adolf Hitler is in this family tree, and Martin Luther is over here in this family tree, which is an Abrahamic family tree, which is even more ironic. And and of course, this E1B1 was probably part of the Jewish population as well that was taken into Europe by the Jewish, along with the Jewish people. But anyway, that's Shem, Ham, and Japheth have the Shem, Ham, and Japheth. Put, Mitzrayim, and Cush. We saw their Y chromosome, the letter designations, and the Canaanites. Canaanites here, or here, or here, whatever it was. Probably this one here, I'm guessing. But anyways, or both are, multiple situations as well. But since the C and the D have African features, the same features as the A and the B, I'm saying the A and the B are descendants of Cush, the same as the C and the D. And the E1 is Canaan and or some of these. And the E3s are the Phoenicians, Egyptians, and Cushites. So that's the Hamite tree. Now the Shemite tree, which is 5 sons. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This is one tree. But see, all of these, let me just go ahead and do this. Hold on. All of these are separate lines, except for this H. This H is like the H. The Assyrians spread out all over the place, and they got multiple. They got 2 different lines here of the H, but you can see it connects here. But this F and this F don't even connect until they go back to the beginning. This F and this F are totally separate lines, the same as this G. So I'm counting this as being 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So this is the Syrians F and the Lud line, which are 2 separate lines. Same letter designation, but the label is irrelevant. What's relevant is the line, whether or not it intersects, and when they intersect. They intersect at the beginning. So then that would be the Arameans, the Assyrians, the Asher, the Assyrians, Elam, the Elamites, and Lud, and Arpachshad, who was the father of the Ebers, the Ebers and the Iberias, and the I and the JY chromosome, the Hebrews. And then we got the Japhethite is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 sons. We have Gomer, we have Magog, we have Javan, we have Tiraz, we have the Medes, Meshach, and Tubal. Everyone, all the sons of Japheth are accounted for. All the sons of Ham, the Shem, are accounted for. Ham is a little bit mixed up because they don't have the information correct yet, but they're all accounted for. You know, to my satisfaction anyway. And because it doesn't, you know, they start out with the same Y chromosome, and if they're starting up here, there's something wrong with that because that's because the E3s are down here. So you have the Phoenicians E3, you have the Mitzrayim E3, and you have the Cushite E3s. The Cushite is the father of the A, the B, the C, and the D. And who knows what else. And Canaan is probably the E1, B1, and maybe something else. Okay, so but that's all the grandsons of Noah accounted for, present and accounted for, which is an amazing thing, which is a wonderful thing. And if we want to be technical, we could go ahead and review a couple of these things too as well. Let me see. Of course, I'm not talking about the mitochondrial too much, but we could go ahead and maybe look at this map here. Remember I said Magog is the major population? It's a major population because it's the biggest population in the world. Meshach and Tubal accompanied the Medes, and they went and, you know, probably with the help, maybe with the help of Alexander. Well, actually, I think they left early on. They went that way very early on. The other one is Gomer. Look at where Gomer is. See, that's a Rhine River right there, apparently. Actually, I lived right there too, at this corner right here. I lived right there on the Rhine River. But Gomer had a son named Ashkenaz. There's a group of Jewish people that call themselves Ashkenazi Jews in this area who have the RY chromosome of Gomer. So that's why he's the RY chromosome, and it's the major Asian Japhethite chromosome in Europe. The only other one is Javan, Tiraz, Meshach and Tubal, and Madai. And of course, see, if you don't believe me, here's Put right here. Cush, but Libya, well, that's Mitzrayim, which there's other ones that show that. But there's another one, there's another map here that's very, very significant, very important. If I can find it, might have to go back, change page here. Let me go ahead and go up here because I think I have it right here. Here's where I got it, right? So this one is very important because this helped me a lot. This map here helped me a lot because apparently it's more recent information or better information or something. Because what it is, it's giving me the information, exactly the information that I need. Okay, this is a little bit troubling. The other is what? The other is probably the E3 of the Ethiopians, because here they got this E1, B1 designation here. They have, well, the F and the K, which is interesting, because remember the F and the K is the Syrians and the Medes, both of which were marauders, you know, and of course the G was too, but the G is up here. But yeah, as far as the marauders go, We have the Medes. The Medes is a screen. The Medes, the Medes and the Persians. We've heard about that. The Medes. The Syrians are the blue. So the Syrians were horrible marauders. Syrians wreaked havoc. They were marauders. And the other one was the G, right? The G? Which one was the G? The G here is the pink, okay. So the Assyrians were more in this area. Assyrians, so they were marauders. They were the first marauders. This is pink. Population is not as large because they were the first marauders. The Assyrians. Okay, so yeah, we have that. What else do we have? Who's the brown? Let's see who the brown is. Oh, that's just the R. No. Oh, wow, they're trying to hide it, I guess. So we have the J2. Oh, where's the J1? J1 is conspicuously missing here. I'm not even sure how this is supposed to work, but anyway, the J2 here is the Judaic or the Arpachshad. Of course, Arpachshad, the J, this brown here. We'll just say it's Arpachshad. But what's interesting to me is this F population here and this K population, which is the Syrians and the Medes. So that helped me a lot in identifying or giving a designation to the Y chromosome. And of course, let's just for the fun of it, this light blue here is the IY chromosome. So yeah, this light blue up here, all this light blue, that's the IY chromosome. That's what I am. I'm an IY chromosome, which is from Arpachshad as well. So the J and the light blue, I mean the brown and the light blue is from Arpachshad, according to this information here, this chart here. So this helped me out quite a bit because there's the older information doesn't even have an F population, doesn't even have a K population. So this helped me out quite a bit. And of course, this is North Africa, which is mostly E1B1. There's the E1B1 through North Africa as well. And which is probably the Canaanites or the Phoenicians, mixed in with the Phoenicians and went all over Africa and everything. Mediterranean. And there's an RY chromosome. Well, that's neither here nor there, but it's not even on the graph. But that's about it for that, I guess. Still trying to hammer out the details, working out the details and seeing what I can do, what's going on. And there's Raymond, and George. Great to see you. And Honesty Angel. There you go. So, sounds good. I'm just about all streamed out. And I guess there's no skeptics that want to complain. So, that's about it. But it's something that I enjoy. I enjoy because I'm a missionary kid. I was raised in South America, familiar with different people groups, and interested in learning ancient history because of other people groups. And It's just very significant to me that there is a way to identify these Y chromosomes. You know, all this different information here. Then there's the mitochondrial. I didn't touch very much on the mitochondrial this time, but this is interesting in case somebody. I like this diagram here, this illustration here, because of the fact that it shows the here we go. The TY chromosome shows up. A huge signal for the TY chromosome, which was Javan, which was the sea people. And let me just go ahead and see if I can find that map. So where am I here? See if I can find this map, this one map that showed this one here. This is the one that shows Javan. I don't know if you can see it here. Javan as being kind of a sea people. And of course, it shows Tiraz up here, which is Javan's brother. And here's Lud. Remember, I was trying to find Lud, so I was able to assign him an FY chromosome that was separate from the Aramean Syrian Y chromosome. We have Elam here, Madai over here, Magog, of course, up here, Meshach and Tubal there, Gomer, Ashkenaz. Remember I was talking about Ashkenaz. Ashkenaz is the son of Gomer, who is the son of Japheth. Magog is the son of Japheth. Tiraz is the son of Japheth. Javan is the son of Japheth. Madai is the son of Japheth. Of course, Meshach and Tubal. Then of the Hamites, you have Arpachshad, Elam, Aram, Lud, and who am I missing? Asher. Yeah, Asher, but Asher moved up in this area as well. Of course, they were all over the map. Of course, especially the Marauders. And if we look here, we can see Mitzrayim, Put, and of course Cush. So I'm not making up this stuff. I'm not making up this history. This is known human history. This is where Cush, of course, started out. Of course, they haven't named Cush because we're not talking about Cush. We're talking about Nimrod's family. That's Nimrod's family that was there. And since since he is the son of Cush, they're calling the area Cush, but they should call it the land of, or the kingdoms of Nimrod, the household of Nimrod, because Cush went over into Africa along with Mitzrayim, along with Put, and Egyptus was Mitzrayim's mother, Egyptus. Of course, there's Canaan, who's Ham's son, that always was fighting with Israel, or had conflict with Israel. So that's everybody there, pretty much. Of course, Elam, we talked about Elam, right? So there we have it. Everybody's present and accounted for and confirmed by the Y chromosome. Of course, in America, the other diagrams maybe weren't as clear, so that's why I'm showing this. In America, which is the brown, notice America's the brown color. So in America, we have the EY chromosome. There's a brown speck there. This brown speck is a B. So in America, we have the E, the B. Of course, we already said the T, which is expected, and the R, which is expected. And there's a huge signature of the R population here to this day. In the area of, pretty much the area of the copper mines in Minnesota or somewhere, wherever it was. Of course, the main population in America, of course, is the Q. The American Indians are Q all through America, as we've stated. The Olmecs are a mixture of Q and, of course, the CY chromosome. So what else do we have in America? The Q, the R, the T, the J2. Oh, that's very interesting. That's very interesting. There's a brown signature there of J2 in America, J1 in America, which is Arabic, which is to be expected as well. Now, this is kind of a little bit of a surprise to me. I2 in America and I1 plus the G. The G is Assyrians. So to me, we have the entire representation of the Phoenicians, the quote unquote later Phoenicians, which were the sea people, which were traveling. This is not a very good map, but traveling in the days of King Solomon from Israel. They had control of this whole Mediterranean Ocean. They wouldn't let anybody pass the Straits of Gibraltar because they controlled the sea routes. And from here, they would sail to the Americas, and they mined copper, gold, and silver in the Americas and took it back to the temple for the temple treasures in the days of King Solomon, along with the different woods and everything and things like that. And of course, the Jewish population is along here. But the Phoenician, this signature here, is all the people that were in the Mediterranean at the time. The Phoenician, quote unquote, Phoenician sea people or whatever, which I already showed that Javan was part of that. Of course, Javan, where's Javan? Where's Javan? Yeah. Javan here is in the sea, Mediterranean Sea, in this area. So Javan, that's why this huge signature of the TY chromosome shows up, because that's the Japhethite TY chromosome. That's why I designated Javan, because that was part of the people. They were part of the people of the Phoenician days, of the times that went to America into trade. But all these people, the GY chromosome, all these people are all the people who were in the Mediterranean at the time, with the exception of the Q went around the other way, of course. The Q went from Asia over into America here. The same as the CY chromosome went through Asia into America as well. of course, you saw the Nadene people. Up here, the C3s as well. And they, of course, they went on all the way down to the northern tip of South America. So, of course, they were here in the Olmec when they made the Olmec statues. So that's this very interesting history to me, and it all fits together like a glove, very much like a glove. And of course, it disputes the out of Africa theory because Nimrod never went to Africa. Oh, and conspicuously here, the C3 Y chromosome is conspicuously missing here because if there was a C3 Y chromosome, it would be in America too. But since the C3 Y chromosome is not here, it's missing. They go to the C2 and then, oh, C3 is missing. And there's an issue with the Fs too, which didn't have the other information, the updated information. But so some of this is not completely accurate or completely upfront or up to date or whatever. But still, it's still helpful in many ways. And the more information that comes out, the more we're going to be able to prove, you know, where everybody came from. I mean, to me, it's already clear. It's already so clear. It's clear as day to me. You know what the history is, because it all goes back to ancient history. Ancient history began with all of these people groups. These are all grandsons of Noah. All these people groups are grandsons of Noah, of all these Y chromosomes. They're all grandsons of Noah. The PQR is one family. The N and the O are another family. You know, it all fits together. It's all making more and more sense. And of course, I had other videos talking about the mitochondrial DNA in Europe is entirely Semitic, not only Semitic, but with the signature of the Jewish population in Europe. 95% plus is Semitic mtDNA, mitochondrial DNA. That's the elephant in the room. Must be the elephant in the room that nobody's noticing. But of course, if you think about it, the RY chromosome that's covering Europe, apparently covering Europe, is an Asian Y chromosome, and yet Europe doesn't look Asian. Now, why is that? Because by the time the R chromosome came from Asia, came through the steppes, came over here, or however they went. Actually, Gomer was already here. They were already here. Gomer was here. Anyways, so Gomer was up in this area anyways to begin with. So it didn't even have to come from over here. But anyways, because Japheth went north, it says Japheth went north. North is here. So Gomer was here. Magog is here. Of course, Madai is here. Is the Medes. Javan is here. Tiraz is here in Europe. Thracians or Tiraz. No mystery. No, the Javan is here. Everybody's accounted for. Everybody has a Y chromosome. So what happens here is that, of course, the J1, J2 belong to the same Abrahamic tree because they're all descendants of Abraham. the J2, Israel, the tribes of Israel went north. They were pushed north in this area, right? But the tribes of Judah were also pushed north up into this area. And they're here to this day. To this day, you know, as much as half the population or 1/3 of the population is the J2 Judaic Y chromosome from the Judaic people, Judaic tribes that were pushed north, and they're here to this day in Iran. And of course, I've had other videos showing the percentages of the J2 population and the J1 in these areas. Okay, what's also associated with the J2 and the J1 is the I2 and the I1. Of course, they have them here, right here, together. See, the I and the J is the same family tree, same Abrahamic family tree, or Eberite, Iberiarite family tree. And of course, this is me. I'm an I1 253. I1 M253. That's what I am. And it says Germanic, but it's not Germanic. It's actually Semitic. You know, it is a Germanic tribe. I mean, it is what the Germanic tribes consist of, except that their consistency is Semitic. That's what they consist of, is the Semitic IY chromosome. Of course, it's all over here. We've seen the percentages as well, because up in this area is, of course, not to mention the Ashkenazis that were here. You know, the associated with the Ashkenaz, the son of Gomer. That's why they're called Ashkenazi, because they're Jews who are in the land of Ashkenaz, you know, the son of Gomer. But it turns out that with all this migration of the Jewish people, Israel, up through this way, and etc., and of course the GY chromosome and the HY chromosome is also Semitic. They're also Semitic people. So they could also have, but anyways, to make a long story short, this Europe is 95+% mitochondrial DNA, Semitic mitochondrial DNA, with a strong signature of the Jewish people. All over Europe, covering Europe. If you want to look at the percentage of the Asiatic mitochondrial DNA, it's a sliver, just a small sliver. And the only other people that it could be would be the L, and the L is up to like 5% or something like that, unless in these areas here. The L is like 5% in this area here, Portugal, which I've shown before. So mitochondrial DNA here is almost entirely, which is a big surprise to me, almost entirely Semitic, and heavily with the Jewish mitochondrial DNA. Heavily. Because, of course, when the RY chromosome marauders come from this way, or they apparently didn't come with their wife and kids, so that the wife and kids of the people that were here were Semitic descendants of Jacob, and what you see, the surviving I2 and I1, which is still significant, is the what's left of the Y chromosome of the Israelite people. But anyways, whatever. Who cares, right? It is what it is, but it's our human history. And of course, we know that God is not a respecter of persons. He loves all people. My dad gave his life to bring the gospel to the Indian tribes, and that's why I am jungle jargon from the Amazon. Okay, so God bless everybody. I'm just about streamed out still, so thanks for your participation, everybody. And there we go. That's it. I guess I'm done. It's 5:15 in the morning, something like that. So I'm good. My car is parked on the right side of the street, so should be okay. God bless everybody. Take care.